everyone, you're listening to Just a Little Stitious podcast. I'm Jess.
And I'm her sister Megan, also known as the Queer Crypt on TikTok.
Whether you're driving, cleaning up the house, or just relaxing at home, we want you to hang out with us. And as Megan would say, get a little creeped out.
That's right. We'll be bringing you stories of paranormal news, extreme hauntings, cryptid sightings, urban legends, basically everything that goes bump in the night.
So if you're up for some eerie tales and a healthy dose of sisterly bullying,
then you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back.
Welcome to my home.
We're at Jessica's today.
This is my bookshelf. I only read. I don't have a television. I don't have an 80-inch TV in my bedroom.
Damn, 80 inches. You don't fuck around.
I don't even like it because I don't wear glasses at home very much, and it kills my head. But
Arthur likes it.
He wanted the big TV in the bedroom, and this size, I have a smaller TV in the living room because I don't want the big TV. It hurts my face. I have to wear my glasses. But he broke the TV when we moved. So we just moved here, and we moved 45 seconds away from where
your
we
old
lived
house
before. And on that 45-second drive, he smashed the TV. I'm surprised you didn't notice. It's broken. It doesn't work.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't notice.
It's like right on the top. It's like a big, like it looks like, yeah.
Oh, schnitzel.
So now I can convince him to get a smaller TV or no TV. We don't even watch TV in bed.
Yeah, that's pointless.
I don't even know why we have him there.
Well, it's nighttime right now, so I'm a little tired compared to normal.
Yeah.
We normally record during the day.
I'm also definitely going to talk quieter because it's nighttime and my kids are sleeping.
I don't know why you can't do this when you're at my house.
I'm just loud. I'm a loud person.
You are a really loud person, but I've never seen you be so quiet naturally.
Because my kids are sleeping.
I know, but
I'm mindful of them.
Every time that you're at my house and we're recording, I'm like, Jessica, talk quieter.
Yeah.
I have to remind her every like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Moving on.
So I'm going to tell you a crazy story today. It's insane.
Okay.
And it might be the very first possession case.
Oh, stop.
In the States.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it's not really your typical possession case.
Why? Is it not scary?
Mm-hmm. To be discovered. We'll see. I want you to imagine something. You're in your bed alone at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark. It's quiet.
My perfect setting.
But suddenly, you hear your name being called. Not once, but many times by many different voices.
Sounds like a normal night for me.
Oh, right.
4 kids.
True. Pretend you don't have kids.
Okay.
Yeah,
lovely.
You're in the house by yourself.
Nice.
You're in the house by yourself.
Less nice.
Your name is being called by multiple voices.
Less nice.
Yeah, less nice.
Yeah.
You open your eyes, and just as you open them, because you're hearing these voices, you feel a warm breath on your face.
Ew.
Yeah, it gives me a little anxiety.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. No, it's not
if
ideal.
I feel your breath, get fucked.
At least you're feeling it and not smelling it. But you open your eyes, you feel this breath on your face, but there's no one there. There's no one in your room. That is how it all began for 13-year-old Rancy Vennum. Weird name, I know. I know that face was about the name.
That sounds like a Harry Potter character.
Kind of.
It does.
She goes by Rancy as a nickname. So we'll be calling her Rancy because it's just easier.
Her is.
The story takes place in a small town called Watseka, Illinois.
Okay.
Very rural. And we're going to investigate the case of Rancy Vennum. Also, what a cool last name, though.
Yeah, Venom.
But it's Vennum. But it's cool.
Venom.
Yes. But in order to investigate Rancy's situation, we also need to talk about the life of Mary Roff.
Okay.
Mary Roff was a young girl who had a strange, unexplained sickness. She had bizarre episodes where she would be violent. And in the end, this sickness ultimately takes her life. Also, trigger warning for this story for self-harm. And I will also mention, too, that most of the information, almost all of the information that anyone has on this story is from a pamphlet that a doctor wrote. His name was Dr. E.W. Stevens, and he was essentially an eyewitness to everything that happened with Rancy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of the details in the pamphlet are vague, just be warned. It all started in spring of 1847. Mary was 6 months old when she had her first episode.
Okay.
So essentially, she was a normal, happy baby, but suddenly she becomes unconscious and nothing her parents do wakes her up.
Scary.
She's like that for hours.
Okay.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
She wakes up, though, after those few hours, and she's okay. She's lethargic and a little bit weak, but otherwise fine. After a few weeks, she's back to normal. These episodes continue over the years, but they continue to get worse and start to almost look like she's having seizures.
Scary.
Her parents try everything. They contact a bunch of doctors. They look into alternative medicine. They even try hydrotherapy. Nothing helps. As Mary becomes a teen, her episodes become more violent. When she's coming out of them, instead of just being lethargic and weak, she's thrashing, screaming, and just acting aggressive. She also has some really strange, unexplained abilities, I guess you could say.
Like Matilda?
Well, she has full-on conversations with people that no one else can see or hear. She can also read a book without opening it.
What?
And they even have this tested. I don't know if it was the Danville Times, which was a newspaper that tested it, but they did write about it. They had a name in an envelope and had her say what name was in the envelope, and she said the right name.
That is so freaking weird.
A little bit clairvoyant, maybe.
That is so interesting. I wish I could do that. I would have done so much better in school.
No doubt. Oh my God. Mary, though, she is in a deep depression because these episodes take a huge toll on her mental and physical health. At the time, mental health is not understood at all. This is the 1800s.
Yeah.
Often when people are having mental health issues at this time, they're immediately deemed as insane.
Right.
Or even worse, that they're possessed or bewitched.
Oh.
Yeah.
We would both be screwed.
Yep. I would probably already be lobotomized.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I'd probably just be dead.
Yeah. Probably. In July of 1864, Mary is now 17. She has, at this point, been dabbling in trigger warning, self-harm. And one night, she sneaks outside of the house with a knife and cuts her arm very deep. She passes out from blood loss.
Right.
Luckily, someone finds her in time, but she doesn't want help. She doesn't want treatment. She just wants to be left alone. She's so depressed. And feels probably so misunderstood and alone.
No.
But obviously her parents won't just leave her alone, but she is fighting them. She wants to be left alone. They wind up having to call their friends, and it takes 5 of them to restrain her and put her into a bed because they don't know what to do with her at this point. Throughout this entire time, people have repeatedly been suggesting to the Roff parents that they send Mary to an asylum, which they do not want to do.
Right.
Because asylums at that time were, number one, severely overcrowded, super unsanitary. Patients were not treated for mental health. They were whipped, they were starved, they would be put in straitjackets, they would, perform lobotomies on a lot of them or experimental procedures. And some asylums would even have their patients out on display for tourists.
Oh, that's not very nice.
Yeah.
That makes me feel very upset.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
That sucks.
It's really sad. I'd probably be on display if this was the 1800s.
I'm on display, on display, on display.
What song is that?
You wouldn't know that because it's Housewives in New Jersey. Shout out Melissa Gorga.
No idea.
Love you.
At this point, though, her parents don't know what to do, and they're finally like, yeah, we're going to commit her to an asylum. So they have her committed, but she's only there for a year because July 5th of 1865, she's 18 at this point. Her parents are there on a 3-day visitation.
Okay.
And they hear her screaming from her bedroom. They run over. She's having one of her episodes, but it's the worst episode they've ever seen. And she passes away shortly after while they're watching this. And the worst part of this, or one of the worst parts of this, is that the town of Watseka, not sympathetic, not compassionate, because mental health was so poorly understood. There was even a newspaper called the Danville Times, and they write this about Mary's death. Disease dethroned her reason and maddened her brain until she sought her own and others' lives, and the modest young lady was transformed into a screaming maniac. They just did not give a shit about people who had mental health issues. They were like, well, they're crazy.
Everybody's fucking crazy, man.
Exactly. Without a lot of support or comfort from the community, Mr. Roff turns to spiritualism. And at the time, so I don't know, do you know about the spiritualist movement at all? Okay. Yeah. So essentially the spiritualist movement was common in the 1900s. And this is really when seances started to become popular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Seeing mediums, believing that you can interact with the dead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
This is an important fact as well. Sometime shortly after Mary's death, the Roff parents moved to a new house. So just keep that in mind for later.
Okay.
Back to Rancy Vennum. When Rancy Vennum is at age 7, the Vennum family move to Watseka, Illinois.
I see where this is going.
6 years after Mary's death. Where do you think it's going?
I think that little girl is going to get possessed from the other girl, and I think that they're going to end up moving into that house, probably, that they were in before. I'm right, aren't I?
Well, we'll see. And it's also good to know that Mr. Vennum is also into the spiritualist movement as well. July of 1877, now 12 years since Mary's death, Rancy is 13. She starts having the same type of episodes that Mary had. And she already had a tough childhood. She had a brother and a sister who passed away. She was the only living Vennum child, which I feel like would put a lot of pressure on you to be like a good, perfect child. Like you would never want to disappoint your parents, I feel like. Yeah.
Definitely not.
The first paranormal experience she has, she's laying in bed at night. She's got her eyes closed. She starts hearing her name called by various different voices.
Gross.
Opens her eyes, feels a warm breath on her face, but no one's in the room. She's rational. She's like, I probably imagined it, and goes back to sleep.
Okay.
But the next night, she hears them again. So this time, she goes and wakes up her parents and is like, guys,
something's happening.
Yeah, I'm hearing voices in my room. So her mom comes and sleeps in her room with her. A few days later is when she has her first major episode. She is sewing when she feels a sharp pain in her chest. She drops the needle and thread, puts her hand on her chest, and collapses.
Oof.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to do that right now.
Her parents can't wake her up. She's unresponsive. And also what's really strange is she's completely stiff. This is something called a cataleptic state, where the body is completely stiff and rigid, the same way how rigor mortis sets into a corpse. Like it's just completely like stiff, which also sounds very seizure-like. She remains frozen like this for 5 hours. 5 hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
She wakes up disoriented, but otherwise fine. These episodes continue to happen, but just like with Mary, everyone is assuming that it's some kind of medical condition.
Right.
But things start to get even stranger.
And this is 6 years after?
12
years after Mary's death.
They moved there 6 years after Mary's death, but now it's 12 years after Mary's death.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
During one of Rancy's episode, while has fainted, she starts talking.
Oh my God, creepy.
She says that she can see the spirits of her loved ones, including her brother and her sister, and that they're in heaven and that her parents don't have to worry.
What the hell? That's, kind of freaky. It's super freaky, but comforting. Right? Like, I'd be like, oh.
Sort of comforting, but your child is like unconscious and stiff and like, I don't know.
Well, for her, more, I don't know. I would probably, I'd be like, well, that fucking sucked that I couldn't move for like a hot minute there, but that was nice.
To see my brother and sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But then she suddenly stops talking, sits up, everything's fine, like nothing happened.
Oh, that's so weird.
These episodes start to happen every day, up to 12 times a day.
What?
And the longest they sometimes last is up to 8 hours.
Where she's just like stiff like a board.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's light as a feather.
But like, how does the girl get even anything done?
Well, literally, like, how could you?
You can't live like that.
What if you did that like at work? They'd walk by and you're just on the floor, like. They'd be like, hey, Rancy's sleeping on the job.
Yeah, but no one would be able to wake her up. And she'd start talking about seeing spirits. So
like, I wonder if like they tried like throwing water on her and like shit like that.
Good question.
I feel like with something like that, this is going to sound excessive. However, I feel like if it was you and you're laying there stiff like that, and I'm like smacking you across the face, doing everything I can, dumping water on you, I would probably like, I might try brewing like a pot of coffee.
You asshole.
Well, because
you
maybe
you could scald me.
Yeah, but if you don't feel it because you're passed out, then that's more. It's okay.
I'll
And
feel
if
it
it
when
wakes you up, then you're awake. So
I would feel it when I woke up. The scalding burn.
I mean, I would ice it for you, but but I would.
Thanks.
Or you could like, take a hammer to a toe or something.
Yeah, true. Break
every time
a toe or two.
Every time they fall asleep, you get those wire cutters, clip a toe.
She'd have no toes left after one day.
Literally.
Sometimes when she's in these fits, it's almost also like she's in this happy ecstasy because she's in heaven.
I see. Is she, when she's like doing this, do we know, is she like making a face? Is she like pure like blank expression? Is she smiling?
Don't know, but well, I think when she's happy, she's probably smiling. But also just when you first hear this, you're like, could she be faking this or something? But to do this 12 times a day, sometimes up to 8 hours, I couldn't do that.
Fuck no.
No. The Vennum family have a bunch of doctors, clergy, spiritual healers trying to help Rancy. Nothing is working. Again, people are like, it's insanity. She's insane. That's often the response.
Right.
January 31st, 1878, Mr. Roff, Mary's father, comes to visit the Vennum family with a man named Dr. Stevens.
Okay.
He's the one who wrote the pamphlet.
Oh.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't really say how Mr. Roff and Mr. Vennum knew each other, but it's easy to assume that
from the spiritual.
Yeah, they're both into the spiritualist movement.
And they're from the same
small town.
Place. Yeah, exactly.
And, Mr. Roff is probably hearing this and thinking, this is very similar.
Pretty familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
They get to the house, and pretty much right after they get to the house, Rancy hunches over in her chair like an elderly woman. And starts making super rude comments to her parents that she never makes. For instance, she calls, I don't know if she called her mom an old hag or an old woman, or I guess something along those lines.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would smack someone.
Again, seems like she's acting like an elderly woman.
Yeah.
She is kind of being rude to everyone except for Dr. Stevens because he is a spiritualist doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so she feels like he'll understand her. He starts to ask her questions. Like, who are you? She says her name is Katrina Hogan. She is a 63-year-old German woman.
Oh.
He asks her, how did you get here? She says, I traveled through the air and have been staying in the Vennum house for 3 days. And then she tells them that she will be staying for 3 weeks. Which, like...
Well, thank you.
Do spirits just, like
invite themselves into your home?
Yes.
And just chill for a while?
Yeah, they're like, you know
go
what?
on vacay?
Yeah, literally.
Airbnb?
Yeah, for free, though.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, this seems
live
like
with the host,
kind of like
secret?
A cool place. I'm going to stay here for a few days or a few weeks.
I don't like I don't like the thought of that. I don't think I like that. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting.
Scary. Katrina starts acting like she is sorry for something. She confesses to Dr. Stevens that her name is actually William Canning, a man who ran away from home, changed his name multiple times, and wound up passing away. He doesn't say how. This man, William, he stops kind of wanting to answer questions at this point and instead turns it around on Dr. Stevens and starts asking him a bunch of questions, like where he lives, if he's married, how many children he has, how many girls, how many boys, what is his occupation, what kind of doctor is he? Why did he come to Watseka? Then he starts asking if he's ever been to the South Pole or the North Pole or Europe or Australia or Egypt. Very much giving the impression that he is knowledgeable on geography, but pretty random. Then he starts asking the doctor questions pertaining to the doctor's habits and morals, like, does he get drunk? Does he steal? Does he swear? Does he use tobacco? Does he drink tea? Does he drink coffee? Does he go to church? Does he pray?
Wow.
But then he asks Dr. Stevens to ask Mr. Roff, Mary's father, the same questions. Isn't that kind of
so weird?
like,
it's invasive.
It is invasive, but it's also, I'm thinking, like, what is this William Canning guy?
Yeah, what the fuck does he want?
Yeah. And why is he like asking all these questions about morality and then be like, ask Mr. Roff about him? Like, what does he know? What is Mr. Roff up to? I don't know.
Yeah.
This is just where my head goes.
I don't like that.
I don't know.
I feel like it's just a little too creepy.
It is really creepy.
I think that's really creepy and I don't like it.
Yeah. And this is like a 13-year-old girl. I don't know.
Is her voice, or does she sound like a man?
They don't say.
Ugh, could you imagine?
I would not.
Barf.
Yeah. Just as Dr. Stevens and Mr. Roff are about to leave, Rancy suddenly collapses. Her body goes stiff and rigid. And I'm going to quote, arose, flung up her hands, and fell upon the floor, straight, stiff, and rigid as sensitives fall with the power in Methodist revival meetings. So these are people, again, who believe in the spiritualist movement. Dr. Stevens uses something called magnetic action, which is essentially the earliest form of hypnotism.
Oh.
He, with whatever power he has, relaxes her body and clears her mind and removes whatever spirits in her. Rancy's okay now. Dr. Stevens' theory is that Rancy is accidentally channeling spirits.
Right.
Her seizures are her trying to fight them off in his mind, but she can't keep doing it forever because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I mean, she has no time to do anything. She's unconscious for 8 hours a day sometimes.
Literally.
Or longer.
Crazy.
But he has a solution. Let a good spirit take control of her.
But how do they control that?
Dr. Stevens asks Rancy if she can sense any spirits that might want to help her, any good spirits. She says yes. After a long silence, Rancy now lets everyone know that she is now Mary Roff.
Oh.
Yeah.
And her dad is there right now, right?
Yeah. So she's now channeling Mary's ghost, and Dr. Stevens thinks, great, this has finally helped for Rancy. Him and Mr. Roff leave. But as soon as they do, chaos erupts at the Vennum household.
Oh my God.
Rancy is sobbing uncontrollably because she said it's so hard to return to Earth after being in heaven for over a decade. She doesn't recognize her parents or her home. And essentially, Mary Roff is fully inhabiting Rancy's body.
Oh.
So we're going to keep referring to her as Rancy.
Okay.
But
it's Mary.
It's Mary unless I say otherwise.
Okay.
The Roff family visits the Vennum family a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
And Rancy immediately recognizes them, including Minerva. So Minerva was Mary's sister. Rancy's never met her before, but she immediately recognizes her. And she throws open the window and yells out, "There comes my ma and my sister, Nervy," which was Mary's nickname for Minerva. Super weird that she would know this. No reason for her to know this. Mary died when she was 1, right? Like, it's just very strange. She bursts into tears, starts hugging the Roffs. She starts begging to go home with the Roff family.
God.
And the Roff family agrees. They're like, yeah, like, this is Mary, our daughter. She should come home with us. And the Vennum parents don't know what to do.
Right.
The Roff family wants her to come. Rancy wants to go. So they wind up agreeing that she can go temporarily.
Shit.
It's been almost 2 weeks that Rancy is inhabited by Mary when the Roff parents come to pick her up. It's a really long walk from the Vennum household to the Roff household. So they're walking there, and you know how I said that the Roff family moved?
Yeah.
They're walking down the street, and Rancy starts booking it to the old house.
Oh.
Being like, this is our house.
Right.
And she's convinced that they still live there. She's arguing with them, and they're like, no, we moved. This isn't our house anymore. But again, this is another thing that Rancy would have no way of knowing that this was their old house.
Right.
They moved before the Vennums even moved to Watseka.
Right.
So at this point, the Roffs are convinced that this is for sure their daughter in Rancy's body.
Crazy.
Evidence continues to build that this is really Mary in Rancy's body. For instance, she'll say things that Mary used to say word for word. The Roffs will leave certain belongings around the house that used to belong to Mary. Rancy immediately will be like, oh, this is mine. She even picks up a hat and she puts it on her head and says, oh, I used to love this with my old haircut. Very specific things.
That's great.
She recalls the Roffs moving to Texas when she was younger and crossing the Red River. She has memories of doing this.
Oh my God.
And she also remembers the Methodist church songs that her and Minerva used to sing together. She also starts writing letters to Dr. Stevens, feeling very appreciative and thankful towards him because he opened the gate for her to come forward.
What about this other girl? Where is she in all of this?
So we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. And she signs, when she sends these letters to Dr. Stevens, she signs as Mary Roff. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. So you asked where Rancy is during all this?
Yeah.
Mary says Rancy is in heaven learning to fight off bad spirits. And
great.
So she says she's not here for fun or for pleasure. She's here so Rancy can go and learn how to fight off bad spirits.
That is dark.
Sometimes there is a lack of awareness that Mary is in Rancy's body. Like sometimes she forgets that she's not in her own body.
Okay.
For instance, there's a time where Dr. Stevens must come to visit and he asks her about the time that she cut her arm and she goes to show him and is like, oh, it's not there. Like not realizing that she's not in the same body. But sometimes she is fully aware and she's like, yeah, Rancy's in heaven learning. And so Rancy is in heaven learning, which means that she will be eventually coming back to her body and Mary will go back to heaven.
Right.
Which...
where she should be.
Right.
First of all, like...
Yes.
God.
But it's also the Roff family are having this experience of having their daughter back in a sense, but also knowing that she's going to have to leave.
I don't know how I would feel to be the parent in that. Just never mind just a parent, but like if you're anyone, I don't know how I would feel about one of my deceased loved ones coming back in someone else's body. I don't think I would enjoy that. It's like such a weird thing because like A, you know they have to go. B, they are gone. You mourned that loss. And now it's like you're back and you'll have to do that all over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would like that.
True. But if it was one of your children and you got to have extra time with them.
Yeah, that's so hard.
Mary also frequently, while she's in Rancy's body, will go visit heaven. Apparently. And she talks about how Mary, Queen of Scots, is up there. She talks about Henry IV being up there, which is strange because Mary Roff probably wouldn't have been completely knowledgeable on these historical figures.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. One time while she's in heaven, she even like has her arms out like she's holding a baby, and she's allegedly holding a baby that was her sister's baby that passed away, Minerva's baby. She's saying how precious the baby is or something like that. And the angels tell her that the baby is too pure to be touched. So she carefully hands the baby back to the angels. Just this would be so strange to witness.
This would make for a great TV show.
Yeah, it would.
It would be so true. Interesting.
Rancy has been now living with the Roff family for about 3 months.
Jeez,
yeah.
3 months. Those other parents must be like, give me my kid back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which also, if this was a hoax or her making it up, that's a long time for a 13-year-old girl to pretend to have a different identity.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but like how would she even know all of these things about this girl?
Mary's life. Yeah.
No. And like her sister and...
It is a small town, so... Yeah. She could have heard things, but some of the things are just so specific, like knowing the house and like the nickname Nervy, that seems random. Like I said, Rancy's been there for about 3 months, but she calls Mrs. Roff into a room and she's crying. And she says Rancy is about to come back and she doesn't know if Rancy is going to be staying or not. And then suddenly she becomes Rancy. Rancy is herself again.
Oh.
And Rancy is panicked because she's like, where am I? Who are you?
Oh,
why am I here?
God.
Where are my parents? Mrs. Roff, at this time is probably struggling with the fact that she might not get to speak to her daughter again.
Yeah, didn't even get to say goodbye or anything.
Yeah, but she has to obviously comfort Rancy. She winds up having Rancy's parents come over and Rancy calms down, but quickly becomes Mary again.
What kind of sick game are they playing?
Mary comes back and says that she only has 2 weeks left. And then Rancy is going to come back to her body.
Well, why did she just come back for like a minute then?
I don't know. Maybe they just had to do a quick little swapsies. I don't know.
Switcheroo.
Yeah. Before Mary leaves Rancy's body for good, there is another strange thing that happens, which again is kind of just showing that Rancy's body is not regular. spirits seem to be able to just get right in there. Again, some of these details are a little bit vague, but it was April and there was a gathering at the Roff house, most likely of people a part of the spiritualist movement.
Okay.
It sounds like maybe they were having a seance, something like that. There's a man named Dr. Steele there. He allegedly channels the deceased brother of the people who are there and gives a passionate speech. After he's done, Rancy, but Mary, decides that she wants to demonstrate how powerful she is and how much control she has. So she disembodies herself, leaves Rancy's body, and goes into Dr. Steele's body. When she goes into Dr. Steele's body, she kind of laughs because Rancy's body is like hunched over now as if she passed away. And she's like, oh, look at that.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
Yes. So she can literally like jump from body to body at will, just like, boop.
Oh my God. I don't like that.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like it either. I'm hoping it's because he's open to that as like a spiritualist who's just trying to channel someone else.
Yeah.
I hope that's not something that ghosts can just do because that's terrifying.
Ew.
She then returns to Rancy's body. Then she goes off with one of the Roff's servants. Her name is Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah. Comes back with Charlotte. She's dressed now. Rancy is dressed as an old woman and is allegedly Charlotte's grandmother.
Oh my God.
She knows intimate family details about Charlotte that Rancy and Mary never would have known, shows Charlotte how to knit with her eyes closed. She describes the death she had, which was from cancer. She, I guess, had a wound, like a cancer wound on her face.
Oh, okay.
She asks for warm water to put on her wound.
That is
She eats food without chewing, as if she has no teeth. She smokes a pipe afterwards, saying food hurts her stomach if she doesn't smoke after. So again, this just suggests that Rancy is a very open medium and essentially a vessel for wandering spirits to just hop right in there whenever they want.
That's wild.
It's crazy to think how many spirits have potentially
been inside her.
Yeah.
Blech.
And why, too? What do they get from it? I guess they get to have a physical body. I don't know.
I mean, I guess. But
if she's passed out during it most of the time, it's coming up to the 2 weeks here, or it's that time. And Rancy, aka Mary, announces she has 1 day left. She spends the day saying goodbye to family members. She is sad, but uplifting. She's treating this like a celebration.
Okay.
She's apparently going to be going back to heaven at 11 a.m. So before that, her and her family are singing hymns and praying. Mary says to her family, I want to hug you while I still have arms and kiss you while I still have lips. It's really sad.
That is really sad.
So she hugs and kisses her dad, her mom, her sister goodbye. And just like that, Rancy is back.
Wow.
She's disoriented. She, again, doesn't really recognize the Roff family, doesn't know why she's there. They get her back home. Rancy's illness is gone. She no longer has these episodes that are seizure-like. No more fainting spells. She still sees and receives messages from spirits for years, and Mary even visits her a few times.
Wow.
She can now talk to ghosts without blacking out. At some point, though, she gets married to a man who absolutely does not believe in anything paranormal or spiritual.
Welcome to my life.
And at that time, she stops mentioning seeing ghosts or talking to them.
Oh.
Don't know if that's because she stops or if she just doesn't want to upset her husband. I don't know. The Roff family, Mary's parents, completely back everything that was in Dr. Stevens' pamphlet. They say it was all true. There's different theories, I guess, and skeptical theories on what could have happened and how this might not really be paranormal or spiritual. So some of them are a shared delusion fueled by spiritualism and the movement. Multiple personality disorder is another one that people think. But again, how would she know all this information?
No, I don't think so, because she knows too much.
Yeah. And then the last one that's quite common with people is fraud. But what the
fuck is she getting out of that?
Exactly.
Hugs and kisses?
She did receive 25 cents from the Roff family, some marbles and some cards and some photos. 25 cents at that time would be about $6 to $7 now.
Right.
$6 to $7 isn't really enough, I would think, for a 13-year-old to pretend to be someone else for 3 months.
Maybe back then, though, because
but it's
6
not,
or 7.
But it's 25 cents back then.
All right.
So it would be as $6 or $7 now. It would buy you the same thing as what $6 or $7 would buy you now.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple bags of chips. I don't know.
I mean, worth it for me.
for 3 months.
Maybe not.
And to like go into these states where you're just lying there like this for 8 hours. I don't know.
No, there's no way she's doing it for.
No, it's honestly, it's a believable one. Unless the entire thing was just completely made up. But there were newspaper articles about Mary's death. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was just completely made up.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, even though Mary had to leave Rancy's body, the Roff parents got to spend more time with their daughter, who they watched pass away in such a horrific way.
Right.
And actually say goodbye.
Yeah, that is nice.
And know that she's
okay.
She's okay. She's in heaven. Yeah. She's watching over them. Aww. Here's another question, though, or here's another theory. Was Mary in Rancy's body, or was it something else?
You asked me that a few episodes ago about a different thing, and I don't like it when you ask me those questions because the possibility, like, come on, it could be something else.
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's a genuine question.
We don't know. Like, I asked you about Sally from the Sally house. Is she really a child? We don't know. Or is it something darker?
It ended up being something darker, though.
We think. We don't know. It could. We don't know.
It was scary.
There could be multiple things in the Sally house, though.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, there could have probably been multiple spirits in Rancy's body.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. That's so interesting. Like, I feel for Rancy's parents, though, probably a little bit the most, because I just couldn't even imagine. Like, I mean, both sides are horrible and sad, and it sucks. But for your child who is living, all of a sudden to
be someone
else, gone,
like
they don't talk about those parents, but I'm sure they were mourning.
Yeah.
Thinking they might, like, not knowing if their daughter was going to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've already lost 2 other children.
Yeah. So, like, that's mortifying.
Yeah.
I hate that.
It's sad.
It's so sad. Like, it's sad for both, but I'm not a fan.
But in the end, Rancy does come back. So, I don't know. It's kind of like a happy ending.
It is. Because, like, you know, the other parents, they got to say goodbye to their daughter who they weren't able to before. And now, you know, this one, she comes back and she's not
having seizure-like episodes anymore.
Exactly. And, like, that's obviously what they wanted.
Yeah. I mean, they were terrified for her.
Yeah.
And they didn't want her to end up like Mary did, in an insane asylum where she probably wasn't being cared for properly. Did she pass away because of the episode actually, or did she pass away because of the episode plus the fact that she could have been malnourished?
Yeah.
Who knows how she was being treated?
Yep.
So
that's so sad.
It is. That is the Watseka Wonder, and I find it fascinating.
And that was from what year again?
Everything that happened with Rancy was in 1878.
Okay. I mean, sounds like a shitty time to be alive, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm gay, so I'd probably be extra dead. I would definitely be put on display at an asylum.
Me too. I feel like I would, like, beat the crap out of the workers at the asylum for treating me bad.
Yeah, and then they'd put you in a straitjacket, probably waterboard you or torture you. Like,
rip my fingernails off.
Terrible things that they did in asylums. Like, terrible. It's honestly...
An asylum is, like, essentially the equivalent to, like, a psych ward.
Right, but really fucked up. Not trying to actually
help
because they didn't know how or anything about mental health.
No.
And a lot of those people, like I said, the workers would think that they're possessed or bewitched, which would make them treat them even worse.
Right. No, I don't like that.
Let us know if you think that this story is bullschnitzel or if you think that it really happened. Do you think that it was Mary inhabiting Rancy's body? Do you think it was something else?
I think it was Mary.
I think it was Mary too, but let us know what you think. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I'm very tired.
We think you're so awesome. I'm not as tired as Jess.
If you saw me falling asleep a little bit, it's not because the story was boring. It's because I had a very bad day and I'm very tired.
She's going to rally because we're doing another episode tonight. I'm going to have her do some jumping jacks.
I don't even think I can jump to an inch off the floor anymore.
She's going to try. Anyways.
See ya.
Bye.
Sayonara.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Just a Little Stitious.
We hope you had just as much fun getting creeped out as we did.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review if you would be so kind.
And be sure to follow The Queer Crypt on YouTube if you want to watch us in video form.
We'd also love to hear from you. Send your eerie encounters to justlittlestitiouspod@gmail.com.
And remember, we're not superstitious.
We're just a little stitious.